Commander HFY of the Galactic Defense Coalition stared at the holographic display showing enemy fleet positions. Red dots swarmed across the star map like angry insects. The Devourers had broken through 3 outer systems in just 2 weeks. Nothing could stop their advance. "Sir, we're receiving another distress call from the Kepler station," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Yara. Her blue skin had turned pale with worry. "They're requesting immediate evacuation assistance." HFY's 4 arms moved across the command console, calling up tactical reports. The numbers looked grim. 50,000 civilians trapped on a mining station. 3 Devourer battleships closing in, and the Coalition's nearest fleet was still 2 days away. "What about the human mercenaries we hired?" asked Captain Dorn, the ship's tactical officer. His voice carried doubt. "They claimed they could handle rescue operations." Several officers around the bridge exchanged glances. Humans were mysterious creatures. Most species in the galaxy considered them myths or legends. Stories passed down through generations spoke of a violent, primitive species from a backwater planet called Earth. Tales described beings who refused to surrender, who fought with reckless courage, and who somehow survived on a death world filled with predators and disasters. But those were just stories. When the humans had appeared at the Coalition Recruitment Center 6 months ago, offering military services, many had laughed. They looked so fragile compared to other species. No natural armor like the Krellians, no energy weapons built into their bodies like the synthetics. No psychic powers like the ethereals. Just soft pink skin, strange hair on their heads, and primitive projectile weapons. "The humans are already en route to Kepler Station," HFY replied, checking his display. "Their ship should arrive in 4 hours." 4 hours? Captain Dorn's scales bristled with disbelief. "That's impossible. It would take our fastest ship 6 hours to reach that position." Lieutenant Yara pulled up the human ship's specifications on her screen. According to their filed reports, they call it the Fury of Terra. It's approximately 300 meters long, crew of 150. They claim it can achieve velocities that exceed our theoretical maximums. "Impossible," muttered the ship's engineer, Chief Knox. Their technology readings showed primitive fusion reactors. Nothing that could generate the power needed for such speeds. HFY had met the human commander personally when they signed their contract. Captain Marcus Chen was a small creature by galactic standards, barely reaching HFY's chest. His dark eyes had seemed to take in everything around him, analyzing, calculating. When asked about their capabilities, Chen had simply smiled and said, "Give us a chance to prove ourselves." The Coalition was desperate enough to try anything. The Devourers had conquered 12 systems in the past year. Their bioships consumed everything in their path, growing stronger with each victory. Traditional military tactics had failed repeatedly. "Sir," Yara's voice interrupted his thoughts. "We're receiving a transmission from Kepler Station. The situation is getting worse." The main screen flickered to life, showing a terrified station commander. Behind him, alarms blared and emergency lights flashed red. "This is Commander Walsh of Kepler Station. The Devourers have broken through our outer defenses. We estimate 40 minutes before they breach the main hull. Please, we need immediate assistance." HFY clenched his primary hands. His people were dying while he sat helpless in space, too far away to help. The humans were their only hope. But could they really trust legendary beings that might not even be real? "Patch me through to the human vessel," he ordered. The screen switched to show the bridge of the Fury of Terra. HFY was surprised by what he saw. Instead of primitive controls, the human bridge displayed advanced holographic interfaces and smooth metal surfaces. Captain Chen stood at the center, wearing what appeared to be flexible armor that moved like a second skin. "Commander HFY," Chen said with a slight nod, "we're tracking the situation at Kepler Station. Our ETA is now 3 hours and 42 minutes. Captain, can your single ship really handle 3 Devourer battleships? HFY asked. Our intelligence reports show each one is over a kilometer long, with heavy bio-armor and regenerative capabilities. Chen's expression didn't change. Commander, we've reviewed the tactical data you provided on Devourer vessels. We have a plan. What kind of plan? The kind that works, Chen replied simply. We'll contact you once the civilians are secure. The transmission ended, leaving the Coalition officers staring at a blank screen. Arrogant creatures, Captain Dorn muttered. They'll be destroyed before they can even approach the station. HFY wasn't so sure. Something in Captain Chen's voice suggested confidence born from experience, not arrogance. But experience with what? If humans were real, where had they been for the past 1,000 years? Why show themselves now? 3 hours passed in tense silence. Every few minutes, Yara updated them on Kepler Station's deteriorating situation. The Devourers had begun their assault on the outer hull. Massive bioweapons carved through metal like it was paper. Emergency force fields were failing one by one. Then the sensors detected something that made everyone on the bridge freeze. Sir, Yara whispered. The human ship just dropped out of hyperspace. But they're not heading for Kepler Station. Where are they going? HFY demanded. They're positioning themselves between the station and the Devourer fleet. They're preparing to engage all 3 battleships at once. The tactical display showed the impossible situation. 1 small human vessel facing 3 massive enemy ships. It was suicide. Get me a visual on the battle zone, HFY ordered. The main screen showed space around Kepler Station. The mining facility hung like a metal asteroid, its lights flickering as emergency power kicked in. The 3 Devourer battleships looked like enormous sea creatures from humanity's myths, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patches. Weapon pods extended like tentacles, charging for another attack on the station. Then the human ship appeared. It moved unlike anything HFY had ever seen in space combat. Instead of the predictable trajectory changes that most ships used, the Fury of Terra twisted and rolled through space like it was flying through atmosphere. Its hull gleamed silver against the star field, sleek and deadly. Impossible, Chief Knox breathed. Those maneuvers should tear their ship apart. The G-forces alone would kill any crew inside. The first Devourer battleship turned its attention to this new threat. Bioweapons that could melt through battle armor fired streams of acid toward the human vessel. The Fury of Terra simply wasn't there when the weapons reached their target. It had twisted away at the last second, moving in 3 dimensions simultaneously. Then the humans opened fire. What came from their ship wasn't energy beams or plasma cannons like most species used. Instead, metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, slammed into the Devourer's hull. But these weren't simple bullets. Each projectile exploded on impact, tearing massive holes in the bio-armor that had stopped Coalition weapons for months. Kinetic weapons, Captain Dorn said in amazement. Primitive kinetic weapons are cutting through Devourer armor like it's nothing. The human ship continued its impossible dance through space. It fired precise bursts at specific points on each enemy vessel, targeting what appeared to be vital organs in the bioships. The Devourers tried to surround the smaller vessel, but every time they moved to trap it, the humans had already changed position. One of the bioships launched itself directly at the human vessel, attempting to ram it. At the last possible second, the Fury of Terra fired rockets from its underside, launching itself over the attacking ship while simultaneously firing down into its exposed back. The kinetic rounds punched through to something important. The massive Devourer ship shuddered, its bioluminescent patches flickering and dying. "They're targeting the neural clusters," Yara reported, her voice filled with awe. "Somehow they know exactly where to hit to disable the bioships." The battle continued for another 20 minutes, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The human ship moved like a predator among prey, striking precisely and then vanishing before the enemy could respond. When the last Devourer battleship finally stopped moving, drifting dead in space, the Coalition bridge crew sat in stunned silence. "Commander," Yara said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." Captain Chen appeared on screen again. Behind him, his crew moved with calm efficiency, no signs of stress or exhaustion from the impossible battle they'd just fought. "Commander Zexhai, Kepler Station is secure. We're beginning civilian evacuation now. Our transport shuttles will have everyone off the station within 2 hours." "Captain Chen," Zexhai found his voice, "how did you accomplish this? Your ship, your tactics, your weapons. Nothing in our databases suggested humans possessed such capabilities." Chen was quiet for a moment, then smiled slightly. "Commander, your databases only contain information about species that wanted to be found. Humanity has been watching the galaxy for a very long time. We've been preparing. Preparing for what? For the day when the galaxy needed us to stop hiding." The transmission ended, leaving more questions than answers. But as Zexahai watched human shuttles efficiently evacuating civilians from the damaged station, he realized that everything was about to change. The legends were real. The myths had substance. Somewhere in the galaxy, an entire human civilization had been developing in secret. They possessed technology and tactics that could defeat enemies the Coalition couldn't touch. Most importantly, they were willing to fight beside other species against a common threat. Captain Dorn broke the bridge silence. "Sir, if humans can do this against 3 Devourer battleships, what happens when they deploy their full military?" Zexhai stared at the tactical display, showing 3 dead enemy ships and 1 small human vessel. "I think we're about to find out." 2 days later, the Coalition received a formal communication from something called the Terran Federation. The message was simple. Humanity was ready to join the war against the Devourers. They had ships, they had soldiers, and they had strategies that could turn the tide of battle. But first, they wanted to meet with Coalition leadership to discuss terms, not terms of surrender or submission, terms of partnership. Equal allies fighting together against an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. As Zexhai prepared his ship for the journey to the neutral meeting station, he wondered what other surprises humanity had kept hidden. If a single human ship could destroy 3 Devourer battleships, what could an entire human fleet accomplish? He was about to find out. The legends were real, and they were ready for war. The neutral meeting station orbited a dead star in the Sigma Centauri system, chosen specifically because no species claimed it as territory. Commander Zexhai had never seen such an impressive gathering of Coalition leaders in one place. Representatives from 43 different worlds sat around a massive circular table, their various forms of communication devices translating everything into understandable languages. But all eyes were focused on the humans. Captain Marcus Chen sat with 5 other humans at one section of the table. Unlike the elaborate ceremonial robes and armor worn by other delegates, the humans wore simple black uniforms with minimal decorations. They appeared calm and relaxed, but Zexhai noticed how their eyes constantly moved, taking in everything around them. "Before we begin formal discussions," announced Chancellor Vexitar of the Ethereal Collective, his psychic voice echoing in everyone's mind, "we must address the obvious questions. Where has humanity been? Why reveal yourselves now? And what do you truly want from this alliance?" Captain Chen stood slowly. When he spoke, his voice carried easily through the chamber despite its quiet tone. "Chancellor, honored delegates, I understand your concerns. Humanity has indeed been hidden from galactic view for approximately 800 of your standard years." A wave of surprised murmurs swept through the chamber. Prime Minister Krelax of the Armored Worlds leaned forward, her massive claws clicking against the table. 800 years. Impossible. Our deep space surveys would have detected any advanced civilization. Only if that civilization wanted to be detected, replied another human, a woman with silver hair whom Chen introduced as Admiral Sarah Morrison. We've spent centuries perfecting stealth technology, camouflaged colonies, and methods of space travel that don't register on conventional sensors. But why hide? Demanded General Thoss of the war clans. His scarred face showed the battles he'd fought against the Devourers. Why not join the galactic community? Chen exchanged glances with his fellow humans before answering. Because we were afraid of what we might become, and afraid of what others might do to us. The chamber fell silent. Chancellor Vextar's psychic presence probed gently at the edges of Chen's mind, seeking deception, but found only truth. Explain, the Chancellor commanded. Admiral Morrison activated a holographic projector in the center of the table. Images appeared showing Earth as it had been centuries ago. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds swirling in beautiful patterns. This was our homeworld, she began. What your databases call Earth. For most of our history, humans were a violent species. We fought constant wars against each other over resources, territory, religion, politics, and sometimes just because we could. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. The hologram shifted to show scenes of devastation. Cities in ruins, poisoned landscapes, massive weapons that could crack continents. When we finally achieved space travel and detected other intelligent species in the galaxy, our leaders faced a choice. We could join the galactic community as we were, bringing our violence and aggression with us, or we could change ourselves first. So you chose isolation, observed Dr. Zentai of the Science Consortium. Fascinating. Most species seek contact immediately upon achieving faster-than-light travel. We established hidden colonies throughout human space, Chen continued. Small worlds where we could develop our technology and culture without outside interference. We watched the galaxy from the shadows, learning from other species' successes and failures. The hologram now showed images that made several delegates gasp. Human cities that seemed to grow from living rock. Ships that moved like living creatures through space. Soldiers in armor that responded to thought and emotion. Your technology, whispered Chief Engineer Knox, who had joined the delegation after analyzing the Kepler station battle footage. It's not like anything in our databases. Because we didn't just advance our science, Admiral Morrison explained, we changed ourselves. Genetic improvements to handle higher G-forces and resist radiation, neural implants that allow direct interface with our machines, psychological conditioning to control our aggressive instincts while preserving our fighting effectiveness. Captain Chen touched a control on his uniform. The fabric shifted color and texture, revealing it was actually a form of living armor. We became something new, still human but better, faster, stronger. More controlled. The perfect warriors, General Thoss said, and there was respect in his voice. No, Chen replied firmly. Better humans. Warriors when necessary, but that's not all we are. The hologram changed again, showing human children learning in schools that looked like gardens. Scientists working alongside artists. Soldiers who spent their off-duty time teaching music and poetry. We kept the best parts of our nature while learning to control the worst, Admiral Morrison said. It took centuries, but we created a society that could handle advanced technology without destroying itself or others. Chancellor Vextar leaned back in his floating chair. An admirable achievement, but that doesn't explain why you're revealing yourselves now. The hologram shifted to show recent battle footage from across the galaxy. Devourer bioships consuming entire worlds, coalition fleets retreating in defeat, civilians fleeing from systems that could no longer be defended. Because the galaxy is losing, Chen said simply. The Devourers aren't just another enemy army, they're something that threatens all life. If they aren't stopped, every species represented here will be extinct within 50 years. Our projections confirm this assessment, added another human, a thin man with cybernetic implants around his eyes. Dr. James Wright, Strategic Analysis Division. We've been modeling Devourer expansion patterns for 3 years. Current coalition tactics will delay their advance but cannot stop it. Prime Minister Krelax's armor plates rattled with agitation. Our warriors have fought bravely against these creatures. We've won several battles. Individual battles, yes, Dr. Wright acknowledged. But you're losing the war. The Devourers adapt too quickly to conventional tactics. They consume destroyed ships and integrate new technologies into their bioforms. They're learning from every engagement. General Thoss slammed his fist on the table. Then what do you propose? Admiral Morrison stood and activated a new set of holograms. These showed detailed schematics of Devourer bioships, highlighting specific weak points and vulnerabilities. We propose something the Devourers have never encountered before. Unpredictable tactics, weapons they can't adapt to quickly enough, and coordination between species that think differently enough to confuse their learning algorithms. The holograms showed mixed fleets. Human ships working alongside coalition vessels, but in ways that seemed chaotic at first glance, ships that broke traditional formations, attacks that came from impossible angles, weapons that fired in patterns that made no logical sense until the results became clear. Coordinated chaos, Chen explained. Human tactical doctrine combined with the unique strengths of every coalition species. We use our stealth technology to get Krell warriors close enough for boarding actions. Ethereal psychic coordination guides our ships through maneuvers that would be impossible without telepathic communication. Synthetic computational power calculates firing solutions for our kinetic weapons. You want to turn our differences into advantages, Chancellor Vextar realized. Exactly. The Devourers expect logical, predictable responses because that's how most intelligent species think. But humans learn to be illogical when necessary. Combined with coalition strengths, we can create something the Devourers can't counter. Dr. Wright pulled up new tactical displays. We've prepared detailed plans for joint operations. The key is using each species for what they do best, but in combinations the enemy won't expect. The room fell silent as delegates studied the proposed tactics. Some looked confused, others appeared intrigued, a few seemed skeptical. This is all very impressive, said Trade Minister Yezka of the Merchant Guilds, but what guarantee do we have that humans won't simply take over once the Devourers are defeated? You possess superior technology and apparently superior warriors. Chen smiled, and for the first time, Zexhai saw something that looked almost sad in the human's eyes. Because conquest was the old human way, Chen said quietly. We spent centuries learning to be better than that. We don't want to rule the galaxy, Minister Yezka. We want to save it. Words are easy, General Thoss growled. Prove your intentions. Admiral Morrison touched her control pad. The holographic display changed to show a star map of human space. Dozens of systems glowed with soft blue light, connected by trade routes and communication networks. Complete transparency, she announced. These are the locations of all major human colonies and military installations. We're sharing our star charts, our defensive positions, and our fleet compositions with coalition leadership. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. Several delegates stood, gesturing excitedly at the display. You're revealing military secrets to species you barely know, Chancellor Vextar observed. This level of trust is either admirable or foolish. It's necessary, Chen replied. True cooperation requires trust. We're asking you to fight alongside us, to let human ships integrate with your fleets, to share tactical information in real time during battle. That only works if everyone trusts everyone else. Zexhai studied the human star chart. The defensive positions were impressive, but not overwhelming. strong enough to protect their territory, but not positioned for aggressive expansion. The fleet numbers were substantial but not designed for conquest. Your military is defensive in nature, he observed. By design, Dr. Wright confirmed. We learned that the weapons needed to conquer others are the same weapons that can destroy yourself. We built our forces to protect, not to invade. Prime Minister Krellax leaned forward, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen too many battles. Pretty words, human. But when warriors taste victory, they often want more conquest. What happens when this war is over? Captain Chen stood and walked to the center of the chamber. He looked at each delegate in turn before speaking. When this war is over, we go home, he said simply, back to our hidden colonies and our quiet lives. The galaxy doesn't need human leadership. It needs human partnership. For as long as threats like the Devourers exist, we'll fight alongside you. When peace returns, we'll fade back into the shadows and let others guide galactic affairs. And if we refuse your offer of alliance? Asked Chancellor Vextar. Chen's expression didn't change, but something in his voice became infinitely sad. Then we'll fight the Devourers alone, for as long as we can. But without coalition support, we'll eventually lose. And then the galaxy dies. The silence that followed stretched for several minutes. Delegates whispered among themselves, translated conversations creating a background hum of different languages and communication methods. Finally, Chancellor Vextar spoke for the group. We need time to discuss these proposals with our respective governments, but speaking personally, I believe we have little choice. The Devourers will not give us time to find perfect solutions. How long do you need? Admiral Morrison asked. 3 days for initial approval. 2 weeks for detailed operational planning. Chen nodded. We can give you that time, but while you're deciding, the Devourers are still advancing. Every day of delay costs more lives. Understood. We'll transmit our preliminary decision within 72 hours. As the meeting broke up, Zexhai approached Captain Chen. The human waited patiently while the other delegates filed out of the chamber. Captain, may I ask a personal question? Of course, Commander. Do you really believe your people can remain hidden after this war? Once the galaxy knows humans exist, can you truly fade back into the shadows? Chen was quiet for a moment, looking out through the station's viewport at the dead star beyond. Probably not, he admitted. This is likely the end of human isolation. But some things are more important than hiding. The survival of intelligent life in this galaxy is one of them. He turned to face Zexhai directly. Commander, your people showed courage at Kepler Station by calling for help when you needed it. Sometimes the bravest thing is admitting you can't win alone. As Chen walked away, Zexhai realized that humanity's greatest strength might not be their advanced technology or superior tactics. It might be their willingness to sacrifice everything, even their cherished isolation, for the sake of others. 3 days later, the coalition voted unanimously to accept the Human Alliance proposal. The real war was about to begin. 6 months after the alliance agreement, Commander Zexhai stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the largest combined fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. Around him, holographic displays showed thousands of ships from dozens of different species, all moving in carefully coordinated formations toward their target, the Devourer stronghold system of Proxima Mortis. The sight should have been inspiring. Instead, it filled him with nervous energy. This was humanity's first major joint operation, and everything depended on tactics that seemed to defy military logic. Sir, we're receiving final position updates from all fleet elements, reported Lieutenant Yara, her blue skin showing stress patterns around her eyes. The human stealth ships are already in position, though we can't detect them on our sensors. That's intentional. Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. He was aboard his flagship, the Indomitable, somewhere in the vast fleet formation. "If you can't see us, neither can the Devourers." HFY studied the tactical display. According to the battle plan, 300 human vessels were already inside the enemy system, invisible to both Coalition and Devourer sensors. They had been moving into position for the past 2 weeks, using technology that bent space around their ships. The main Coalition fleet numbered over 8,000 vessels. Krell heavy battleships with armor thick enough to ram through asteroids. Ethereal command ships that coordinated multiple fleets through psychic networks. Synthetic computer ships that calculated targeting solutions faster than organic minds could follow, and dozens of other species, each contributing their unique strengths to the combined force. "All ships report ready for hyperspace transition," announced Fleet Admiral Thoss, his scarred face visible on the main communication screen. "Human vessels, confirm your people are in position." "Confirmed, Admiral," Captain Chen replied. "All stealth elements are deployed. Waiting for your signal to begin coordinated attack." The plan was insane by traditional military standards. Instead of a massive frontal assault, the combined fleet would split into hundreds of smaller groups. Each group contained ships from multiple species, using tactics that played to their natural abilities. Human stealth technology would hide the approach. Krell warriors would board enemy bioships. Ethereal coordination would keep everything synchronized across impossible distances. Synthetic computers would adapt tactics in real time as the battle developed. Devourers have established significant defenses around Proxima Mortis, reported Dr. Wright from his analysis station aboard the Indomitable. Over 200 bioships of various sizes, plus orbital defense organisms and what appear to be space-borne hunter creatures. HFY felt his stomach sink. 200 Devourer vessels was more than the Coalition had ever faced in a single engagement. Each bioship was a living creature the size of a city, armed with weapons that could dissolve matter at the molecular level and protected by armor that regenerated damage within minutes. "Numbers don't tell the whole story," Admiral Morrison's voice joined the conference. "Dr. Wright, show them the vulnerability analysis." The tactical display shifted to show detailed scans of the enemy bioships. Red markers highlighted specific points on each vessel. 3 months of stealth reconnaissance has identified critical weaknesses, Dr. Wright explained. Devourer bioships have evolved to counter energy weapons and explosive damage. But they've never faced sustained kinetic bombardment combined with coordinated biological warfare. "Biological warfare?" Admiral Thoss asked, concern clear in his voice. "Not against the Devourers themselves," Chen clarified quickly. "Against their ships. Human scientists have developed engineered bacteria that can disrupt the neural networks controlling bioship functions. Completely harmless to all known galactic species, but devastating to Devourer organism technology." Captain Dorn, now serving as HFY's tactical officer, leaned forward in his seat. "You're planning to infect their ships?" "Exactly. Krell boarding parties will deliver bacterial payloads to bioship nerve centers, while human kinetic weapons target the same locations from outside. The combination should disable their largest vessels within minutes." "And if it doesn't work?" Admiral Thoss demanded. "Then we fight a conventional battle and hope our superior numbers are enough," Admiral Morrison replied honestly. "But conventional tactics have a 30% chance of success at best. This plan gives us 70% odds." HFY appreciated the human honesty about their chances. Too many military leaders promised certain victory when everyone knew the risks were enormous. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace transition," Admiral Thoss announced. "Jump in 60 seconds." The massive fleet began moving toward their hyperspace entry points. HFY watched thousands of ships from dozens of worlds accelerate in perfect formation. Whatever happened in the next few hours would determine the future of galactic civilization. "Hyperspace transition in 10 seconds, Yara announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump. The stars stretched into lines of light as the fleet entered hyperspace. The journey to Proxima Mortis would take exactly 4 hours and 27 minutes. Long enough to review the battle plan one more time, but not long enough to think about all the things that could go wrong. 4 hours later, the combined fleet dropped back into normal space at the edge of the Proxima Mortis system. Immediately, alarms began sounding on every bridge as sensors detected the massive devourer presence. "By the ancestors," whispered Admiral Thoss. "Look at the size of those things." The largest devourer bioships were over 3 kilometers long, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent weapon pods. Smaller hunter creatures swarmed around them like schools of predatory fish, and at the center of the system, something that defied easy description. "It's a biostation," Dr. Wright reported, his voice tight with controlled fear. "They're growing a permanent installation. If that thing finishes developing, they'll be able to produce bioships faster than we can destroy them." The biostation looked like a massive sea creature crossed with an industrial facility. Organic towers stretched toward space, connected by pulsing tubes that moved materials and energy. Already, HFY could see new bioships in various stages of growth within protective pods. "That wasn't in our intelligence reports," Admiral Thoss said grimly. "Because it's new," Captain Chen replied. "The Devourers are adapting faster than we expected. But so are we. All ships implement Battle Plan Omega." Battle Plan Omega was the most aggressive option they had discussed. Instead of the careful, coordinated assault originally planned, it called for immediate maximum engagement across the entire enemy formation. "Are you certain?" Admiral Thoss asked. "Once we commit to Omega, there's no pulling back." "The biostation changes everything," Admiral Morrison's voice cut through the communication channel. "If we don't destroy it now, our next battle will be against twice as many enemy ships." HFY watched his tactical displays as the human stealth ships suddenly appeared throughout the enemy formation. They had been hiding inside the system for hours, positioning themselves next to every major Devourer vessel. Now they opened fire simultaneously, their kinetic weapons targeting the specific weak points Dr. Wright had identified. The effect was immediate and devastating. Bioships that had seemed invulnerable to conventional weapons began shuddering as metal projectiles punched through their neural clusters. Some lost power entirely, drifting helplessly as their biological systems shut down. Others thrashed wildly, firing weapons in random directions as their control networks failed. "All Coalition forces advance now," Admiral Thoss commanded. "Krell boarding teams launch immediately. Ethereal coordination ships maintain psychic links with all elements. Synthetic vessels begin adaptive targeting calculations." The main Coalition fleet surged forward in hundreds of smaller groups, each one targeting specific enemy ships according to the battle plan. HFY's group included 2 Krell heavy cruisers, 1 ethereal communication ship, and 3 human vessels that had just decloaked nearby. "Commander HFY, this is Captain Lisa Park of the Terran destroyer Firestorm," came a new human voice. "We're assigned as your tactical coordination unit, ready to demonstrate combined operations." Through his viewport, HFY could see the human ship. It was smaller than his flagship, but moved with impossible agility, twisting through space in patterns that should have torn it apart. "Captain Park, we're targeting the bioship designated Delta 7, HFY replied. "Krell boarding shuttles are launching now." "Confirmed. We'll provide covering fire and electronic countermeasures." The Krell shuttles were armored like small fortresses, designed to ram through enemy hull material and deliver their warrior passengers directly into hostile territory. HFY watched them streak toward the massive bioship, while the human destroyer danced around incoming fire from other Devourer vessels. "Fascinating," Captain Dorn observed. "The human ship is drawing enemy fire away from our shuttles while simultaneously attacking the target's weapon pods." The firestorm fired continuous streams of kinetic rounds, each projectile precisely aimed to disable specific bioweapons without damaging the areas where Krell warriors would be fighting. It was a level of precision that seemed almost impossible in the chaos of space combat. "Krell boarding teams have penetrated the enemy hull," reported the shuttle leader. "Beginning advance toward the neural center. Resistance is heavy but manageable." "Captain Park, can you target the secondary neural cluster?" HFY asked. "Already locked on, Commander. Firing now." The human destroyer's main guns sent a focused barrage directly into the bioship's secondary brain center. At the same time, the Krell warriors reached the primary neural cluster and began deploying their bacterial weapons. The effect was dramatic. The massive bioship convulsed once, then went completely still. Its bioluminescent patches faded to dark red, and its weapon pods retracted into protective positions. "Target neutralized," Captain Park reported. "Krell teams, you have approximately 10 minutes to extract before that ship's immune system adapts to the bacterial infection." Across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out hundreds of times. Human precision weapons and stealth technology combined with coalition strengths to disable enemy vessels faster than anyone had thought possible. The Devourers, accustomed to facing predictable tactics, seemed unable to adapt quickly enough to counter the chaotic but coordinated assault. But the biostation was still a problem. As the battle raged around it, the massive facility continued its work. New bioships were approaching completion, and defensive organisms were beginning to emerge from its organic towers. "All available ships, concentrate fire on the biostation," Admiral Thoss ordered. "We need to destroy that facility before it can deploy additional forces." "Negative on direct assault," Captain Chen's voice cut through the communication channel. "That station has defenses we haven't seen before. We need a different approach." "What do you propose?" Admiral Thoss demanded. "Something typically human," Admiral Morrison replied. "Dr. Wright, are your calculations ready?" "Confirmed." The human scientist's voice was tight with concentration. "If we can get a delivery system close enough to the station's core, we can trigger a cascade failure in its biological systems." "What kind of delivery system?" HFY asked. "A volunteer crew in a fast ship, carrying a very large bacterial bomb," Captain Chen said simply. "The mission is one way. The biostation's defenses will destroy any ship that gets close enough to deploy the weapon effectively." The communication channel fell silent. Everyone understood what the humans were proposing. A suicide mission to save the rest of the fleet. "I'll take the mission," Admiral Thoss said immediately. "No," Captain Chen replied firmly. "This requires human stealth technology and bioweapons. It has to be us." "Captain, I cannot allow—" Admiral Thoss began. "With respect, Admiral, this is what we came here to do," Captain Chen interrupted. "To fight beside you against an enemy that threatens all life in the galaxy. Some fights require sacrifice." HFY found himself speaking without thinking. "Captain Chen, my ship can modify our engines for a high-speed approach. If you can provide the weapon and stealth systems, we'll deliver it together." "Commander, that's not necessary," Chen replied. "Yes, it is," HFY said firmly. "This alliance works both ways. Humans aren't the only ones willing to sacrifice for the greater good." Other voices joined the conversation. Captain Dorn volunteering his tactical expertise, Krell warriors offering to defend the approach ship, ethereal pilots ready to provide psychic coordination for the mission, synthetic vessels calculating optimal approach vectors. "Negative," Captain Chen said, but his voice carried gratitude. "This mission requires speed and stealth above everything else. Too many ships will be detected before we reach the target." "Then we'll provide distraction," Admiral Thoss declared. "All coalition forces, prepare for maximum assault on biostation defensive perimeter. Give Captain Chen the best chance possible." HFY watched through his tactical displays as the human captain prepared for his final mission. The Indomitable separated from the main formation, its hull shimmering as stealth systems activated. Within minutes, the ship had vanished from all sensors. The Coalition fleet launched their diversionary attack, every ship firing everything they had at the biostation's outer defenses. Massive energy beams and kinetic rounds slammed into organic shields, while fighters engaged the station's defensive organisms in close combat. For 10 minutes, the battle raged with desperate intensity. Then, just as the Coalition forces were beginning to take serious casualties, something changed at the heart of the biostation. A pulse of pale light emanated from the facility's core, spreading rapidly through its organic structure. Where the light touched, the biostation's tissues began to break down. Towers collapsed. Production pods dissolved. The entire massive facility started consuming itself from the inside out. "Bacterial weapon deployed successfully," came Captain Chen's voice, weak but triumphant. "Biostation will be completely destroyed within 30 minutes. Chen out." The transmission ended in static. Long-range sensors showed no sign of the Indomitable among the wreckage of the collapsing biostation. "All remaining Devourer forces are retreating," Dr. Wright's voice reported from somewhere in the fleet. "Without the biostation, they can't sustain operations in this system." Admiral Thoss appeared on the main communication screen, his scarred face showing a mixture of victory and grief. "All ships, begin recovery operations. Search for survivors from all vessels." The aftermath of the battle was sobering. The Coalition had won a decisive victory, destroying the largest Devourer installation ever discovered and eliminating over 200 enemy bioships. But the cost had been significant. Dozens of Coalition vessels destroyed or heavily damaged, thousands of lives lost, and somewhere in the wreckage of the biostation, the crew of a human ship that had saved them all. 3 days later, during memorial services for the fallen, something unexpected happened. A badly damaged human ship emerged from hyperspace, its hull scarred by biostation defenses but still intact. Captain Marcus Chen appeared on communication screens throughout the fleet, his uniform torn but his smile unmistakable. "Sorry for the delay, Admiral Thoss," he said. "We had some engine trouble getting out of that biostation before it collapsed. Next time, we'll remember to bring a faster ship." The cheers that erupted from Coalition vessels could probably be heard across several star systems. But what impressed HFY most was Chen's next transmission. "Fleet Command, this is Captain Chen, requesting permission to begin joint patrol operations. The Devourers will likely attempt to retaliate for their losses here. We should be ready for them." Not a request for leave, not a desire to return home and recover. Ready to continue fighting alongside the Coalition as partners and equals against an enemy that threatened everyone. 6 months later, HFY stood on the observation deck of the Coalition's newest joint base, watching human and Coalition ships training together in complex maneuvers. The war against the Devourers was far from over, but something fundamental had changed. The galaxy no longer saw humans as legends or myths. They were real, they were powerful, and they were willing to sacrifice everything for others' survival. More importantly, they had proven that different species could work together in ways that made everyone stronger. Captain Chen joined him at the viewport, watching a mixed squadron of human and Krell fighters practice coordinated attacks. "Any regrets about ending human isolation?" HFY asked. Chen was quiet for a moment, then smiled. "Commander, for 800 years, humans hid in the shadows because we were afraid of our own nature. But fighting alongside the Coalition taught us something important. Our nature isn't something to fear when it's guided by the right principles." "And what principles are those?" "That some things are worth fighting for, that no one species has all the answers, and that sometimes the best thing about hiding in the shadows is knowing when to step into the light." Through the viewport, more ships arrived at the training area, ethereal vessels glowing with psychic energy, synthetic craft moving in perfect geometric formations. Dozens of other species, each contributing their unique strengths to the growing alliance. The legends had become reality. And reality was better than any myth the galaxy had ever imagined. The war would continue, but humanity was no longer fighting alone. Neither was anyone else. In a galaxy where cooperation had often seemed impossible, different species had found a way to become stronger together than any of them could be apart. The Devourers would learn that lesson soon enough. The galaxy had found its defenders, and they were no longer hiding in the shadows.